Good morning. I'm now going to call the meeting to order for the California Water Commission. I welcome everybody. I want to take the opportunity to welcome those participating in today's meeting and take some time to explain the process for submitting public comment on the Commission's agenda items. This meeting may be viewed in person or virtually. Comments may be submitted in person, online, via Zoom, or by telephone. Instructions on how best to provide comments can now be seen on the screen, or not. Okay. And we will also show this screen at the conclusion of each agenda item just before the public comment period opens. We will take comments from tribal leaders first. Elected tribal leaders and formally designated representatives of California Native American tribes who want to comment on an agenda item will have an opportunity during agenda item number 3 to identify themselves and the item on which they wish to comment. After hearing from the tribal leaders, we will move to public comment, first those who are present in person, and then to remote commenters with the order determined by who raises their hand first. We will call on each commenter by name when it is their turn to speak. For those calling in, we will identify you by the last 3 digits of your telephone number. Those wishing to comment in person should fill out a comment card found on the materials table at the entrance and hand it to Mr. Walters, who's now waving his hand. Comment cards should be submitted prior to the call for comments on the agenda item for which your comments apply. For those commenting via Zoom, please raise your hand during the agenda item to which your comment pertains. For those commenting by phone, please mute your phone upon call-in until prompted by Commission staff. Though you're not required to do so, I would like to ask everyone to please state your name for the record before you speak. Unless otherwise specified, the normal 3-minute time limit applies for public comments, and you will see a timer on the screen so you know how you're doing. Please note that tribal and public comments are taken prior to Commission discussion of an agenda item. Once we move to Commission discussion, the comment period has closed. We appreciate the time you're taking to participate, and the input of all commenters is important to us. Thank you for joining us today, and we're now going to move on to agenda item number 2, which is our roll call. The Commission's meeting coordinator, Aaron Walters, will call the roll.
Commissioner Bland?
Here.
Commissioner Curtin? Here. Commissioner Gallagher?
Here.
Commissioner Hurt?
Present.
Commissioner Mackler? Commissioner Matsumoto?
Here.
Commissioner Solorio?
Here.
Commissioner Steiner?
Here. Thank you, Mr. Walters. We'll now move on to agenda item number 3, acknowledgement of California Native American tribal governments per the Water Commissioner's California Native American Tribal Leadership Comment Policy. We would now like to invite any tribal leaders to identify themselves so the Commission may acknowledge their designation and presence. Tribal leaders who are here in person may approach the podium now and identify the agenda item or items on which they'd like to comment, and you would then be invited back to the podium to comment during that agenda item. If a tribal leader has do we have anyone online?
We do not have any in-person tribal leaders, and we do not have anyone online.
Then we invite elected tribal leaders and formally designated representatives who are online to raise their hand, and we've taken care of that. We don't have any, correct?
That's correct. We do not have any raised hands from formally designated representatives.
Is there any public item on this comment? Those interested in commenting virtually, please raise your hand.
And we do not have any raised hands on Zoom.
Any questions or comments from commissioners? Then we'll move on to agenda item number 4, approval of the February 18, 2026 meeting minutes. We will be voting to approve the minutes from the Commissioner's February 18, 2026 meeting. Are there any changes by any of the commissioners? Okay. Is there any comment on this item? We'll begin with elected tribal leaders and formally designated tribal representatives, followed by public commenters.
We do not have any in-person requests for comment on this item, and at this time, I'm not seeing any raised hands on Zoom.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Commissioner Gallagher, motion to approve the minutes. Commissioner Hertz seconded the motions. Mr. Walters will call the roll.
Commissioner Bland?
Yes.
Commissioner Curtin? Commissioner Gallagher?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurt?
Aye.
Commissioner Matsumoto?
Yes.
Commissioner Solorio?
Yes.
Commissioner Steiner?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And we'll now move on to agenda item number 5, which is the Executive Officer's Report. Executive Officer Jensen will make a report on matters since the previous commission meeting.
Good morning, Commissioners. I will start by talking about our February participation numbers. Before I get into the numbers, I just want to acknowledge that both our January and February meetings saw significantly higher total participation than the per meeting average for 2025. We also have received slightly higher number of total comments compared to our 2025 average, and that increases the result of having more in-person comments at our last 2 meetings. You'll hear more about those numbers as part of Agenda Item 11, our Outreach and Engagement Update. As for February, we had 142 total participants. That's 10 in-person attendees, 48 remote attendees, and 84 webcast viewers. And we had 13 total comments, 8 in-person, 1 remote, and 4 written. Okay, next up, a quick update on the California Water Plan update. So the Governor's Office did its formal launch of the 2028 Water Plan update on February 25th. This includes a brand new website, californiawaterplan.com. On March 13th, Chair Steiner and Commissioner Curtin spoke at the SB 72 press conference hosted by Senator Caballero at the San Luis Reservoir. They were joined by Director Namath from DWR and Craig Miller, General Manager of the Western Municipal Water District. Then last week, on April 8th, Commissioner Matsumoto was a panelist on CNRA's Secretary Speaker Series related to the Water Plan update. And we have some upcoming meetings on the water plan. The first state agency team meeting will be on April 30th. The state agency team is an advisory body to the advisory committee. And our assistant executive officer, Sarah Lesmeister, will be representing the commission at that meeting. Then the advisory committee itself will have its kickoff meeting on May 13th and 14th in Sacramento. That is open to the public. And the goal of that first meeting is to establish regional and topic-based caucuses. And Chair Steiner will serve as the commission's ex officio representative on the advisory committee. We will continue to use our forum to serve as a place for the public to engage with the water plan and expect the next update from DWR in the fall of this year. Last up, just a quick note on the Water Storage Investment Program. I just want to acknowledge that we're in a bit of a transitional period with the Water Storage Investment Program right now. We are implementing our modified regulations. So today, the Commission will be considering a supplementary funding award for the Harvest Water Program under those modified regulations. We anticipate that you will also be considering a supplementary funding determination for Sites Reservoir in June and for Chino Basin Program in August. So this is new. And also in the coming year and a half, we expect that the Commission will be looking at final funding for the remaining 4 projects that are in the program. So the Commission is in a much more active role right now, and I just want to acknowledge that and allow us to be excited about all of the good work and activity that's happening in WISIP at this moment. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jensen. Is there any public comment on this item?
We do not have any in-person comment on this item, and at this time, we do not have any raised hands on Zoom.
Any questions or comments from commissioners? Then we'll now move on to agenda item 6, which is commission member reports. This is an opportunity for members to disclose any meetings or conversations related to commission business since the previous meeting. commission meeting. In addition, if any commissioner knows he or she will need to leave the meeting early today, now's a good time to tell us, and what time you'll need to depart. And I'm going to start the commissioner's report. On February 24, 2026, we sent a letter to Chair Esquivel and the members of the state. I sent a letter to the State Water Resources Control Board, to Chair Esquivel and the members of the board. This commission was moving forward on trying to set timelines related to final funding and other matters under the WISIP program. And we're part of a group in that we work with other agencies. One of those is the State Water Resources Control Board. And I wanted to advise the Control Board our timeline that we were trying to work under so that it could fit in or not to what they were doing. We certainly don't have the right to tell any other agency what to do. I did try to figure out a way to discuss this with the commissioners, including sending out the letter and asking for comments, which would be a no-no. That's a legal term under all sorts of transparency laws in the state. Debated calling another meeting, decided that was not effective to do the letter for one item, and was aware that other chairs have sent things out, and I sent the letter out without the ability to talk to everyone that I felt we could do legally. And I did feel that we needed to indicate that we were moving under a timeline that perhaps might not fit with the state board, and needed to know that if that was correct. So I would have liked to have talked to everybody, and I would expect that everyone would understand that sometimes that's just not going to work if we're going to obey the law, and we are going to obey the law. So do any other commissioners have anything to report? Commissioner Hurt?
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Hurt, raise your
Okay.
hand, and then I'll take you, Mr. Solorio, on the list.
Yeah, I just wanted to let folks know this past Monday I had the opportunity to catch up with Matthew Beeston of the North Coast States Carpenters Union. The majority of our conversation was on renewable energy, maritime decarbonization, but towards the end we did talk about one of the projects briefly.
Thank you, Commissioner Hurt. Commissioner Solorio?
Thank you. Madam Chair, thank you so much for the leadership on that letter to try to coordinate with that other agency. I kind of do feel like a good starting point is that saying what our timeline is, but I do feel that internally amongst the commission and with staff and with other agencies and with the project applicants, we need to at least explore, are there ways that we can fast track all these processes, because the state's hungry for all these projects. We have big things like the Olympics coming up. I know this year wasn't that great water year, and we've got to hustle a little bit more. We continuously hear, if anything, about our WISIP program that it's been years since the proposition was adopted, and I know staff and the commission is trying to do its best at least to stay on the law, because that's point number one. But to the extent that we could advance any of these things, I think that'd be excellent. And maybe at that point means I know our executive officer has been excellent in the past about bringing panels together to get opinions on things, and whether it's the process or whether it's helping with financing or whether it's helping see where the weaknesses might be, whether it might be agencies that are struggling with their current requirements, and figuring out how we can move that along, that would be great. Because the project status reports, those written and in person by the agency reps are great, but many of these projects we're still years and years away, and with the state economy and the complexity that's growing in this world and infrastructure, things are only getting harder and slower. And people are looking, for more nimbleness in how we do things. I know at the national and international levels, we see people in AI and others building, massive points of infrastructure in very quick ways. Different states, different bureaucracies, but nonetheless, I think that's important. I also know that when we get reviews for your reappointments that both the administration but also the legislative offices are very interested in how we're doing on all these processes and how we're doing and when these things are coming about. So if we can explore that, that would be fantastic. On a related note, I know there were some questions by the legislative staff on the counting of certain endangered species and what we're doing, if anything, to review that and make sure that certain type of fisheries or processes aren't forgotten in that process. And I don't know that we've reviewed that kind of as a team or with staff. And this was just an opportunity to mention that because we often don't have opportunities to talk about other kind of ongoing projects. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Solario. One of the things that the executive officer and I have discussed is it might be of interest to ask DWR, the State Board, all the agencies who are involved in the WISA program, if they want to come and talk to us about where they fit in the project and how we fit in with them, that might be of interest and helpful to everybody to understand how we're all working together to try to get to this goal of having more water storage in the state. Any other commissioners?
Yeah.
Commissioner Curtin?
Thank you. I wasn't going to comment, but the letter, when I read it, I wasn't quite sure. I'm glad you clarified it. It was more of a timeline issue, but I just want to encourage in the future that official letters have a way of taking a life of their own. Having been around quite some time here, so perhaps that would have been better through a staff-to-staff communication if it were specifically just about a process. Because once a letter goes out, the implications are that we've all discussed it and we've approved it. So just in the future, I would recommend if it's a process issue, handle it in a different way. If it's a substantive issue, that's another story. But again, once it's out, and again, I can't really quite remember all the details of it, but there's ways, those things have a life of their own and can be misread or misunderstood. And then there's turf warfare, and we're all part of the same administration and government. So in the future, I'd recommend that, just thinking through that way. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? Commissioner Matsumoto?
Yeah, just as Executive Officer Jensen mentioned, I was on a panel with the Resources Agency talking about the water plan and kind of representing the commission role in that. And just a reminder to everybody, it was a great opportunity to remind folks that this is a public forum. The commission serves an important role as a public forum, and it's a great conduit for hearing information about and channeling information into the water plan process as well as other processes in water in California. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? Then we'll now move on to agenda item 7, public testimony. Although no formal commission action will be taken, the commission offers an opportunity to the public to address the commission on items of interest that are within the commission's jurisdiction but that do not appear specifically on the agenda. At this time, we will take public comment on items not on the agenda. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Is there any comments?
We do not have any in-person comments on this item, and at this time, I'm not seeing any raised hands on Zoom.
Any questions or comments from any commissioners? Staff? Then we'll now move on to agenda item 8. As we turn to more specific commission business, I'd like to remind those wishing to comment, please submit comment cards or raise your hand prior to the end of the presentation of the item. We will take comments before commissioner discussion of and possible action on the item. Item agenda 8 is the Water Storage Investment Program update. Water Storage Investment Program Manager Amy Young will give a brief update on the progress of the projects in the program. Ms. Young?
Good morning, Commissioners. So today we have a little bit of a different format for our water storage update. No slides, it's just going to be a verbal update. We will have quarterly reports coming in at the end of this month, and so next month we will have our regular full water storage update, including a slide deck. So I'm just going to briefly go over each project.
starting with the sites project. As we all know, the water, or we may or not all know, but the State Water Resources Control Board released the draft water right for the sites project. The public comment period closes on May 22nd. After that period, the State Water Board will release, or most likely release, another draft water right and in July, and for an additional comment period. And then they expect that the final order would come out in September of this year. The draft CAPBs, as Executive Officer said, would be coming to the June Commission meeting, along with possibly a supplemental funding request. And the project is still aiming for a final funding award by the end of this year. Moving on to Chino, hopefully this is at the right level, Chino Basin program. So we're all expecting a recirculated program EIR to be coming out from that project, and that should be coming out this month. For Willow Springs Water Bank, the project is still planning on providing an update to the commission, and this will likely be at our June commission meeting. For the Kern Fan project, Water Commission staff is getting really close to having an early funding agreement executed for that project. Should be done in the next month. And then lastly, the Harvest Water Program, we will be talking about a supplemental funding award in the next item, so as an action item. So that's all I have right now, and I don't know if this format is helpful or not. I'm open to some feedback on that. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Young. Is there any comment on this item?
Yes, we do have 3 in-person comments on this item, and then we'll see how many Zoom comments we have after that. First, we will hear from Mr. Ben King. Mr. King?
Yes. First of all, I'd just like to thank the commission for the opportunity for public engagement. You really do have. I've been working on my cause for some time, and I would say I really appreciate what you do, how you include indigenous nations, but also just how you and your staff engage public comment. I find it to be great from a point of my First Amendment rights. Thank you. So as you know, T&M King Farms was named after my great grandparents. We've been farming in Inclusive Trough since 1860. All I have left now is 265 acres, 250 of which are wetlands, either NRCS or the Inclusive Basin Drain itself. And in 1920, my grandfather gave an easement to excavate the Inclusive Basin Drain. And in exchange for that, we were entitled to all the flows because they naturally come across our ground. And in recent years, Glen Cluse Irrigation District put up a dam, and now flows are restricted. So we got engaged in this process because we thought the WISA program and sites would actually restore those flows, because in the 2017 submittal, all the Yolo bypass water and the residuals from the refuge water north of us would flow across our ground and would solve the flow problems, the aquatic problems, and the water quality problems. In 2021, sites submitted, the WISA, your staff graded in 2000, took the submission 17, gave a graded 18. 2021 sites changed the plans, and I would say they made a shortcut, and I think they've done shortcuts like they're doing with labor right now, and that's my impression of how they are operating, and I understand because of the expensive program, but their shortcut was the Dunnigan pipeline, which is going to deposit all the site's flows right in the Inclusive Basin Drain about 12 miles north of this interconnection with Sacramento River, and that water is going to be backing up another 13 miles. There's definitely going to be mercury. There may be harmful algae bloom, and there may be hexafluoride chromium. I would ask to make sure that the Water Commission looks at the WISIP regs and make sure that this shortcut is actually appropriate, and whether or not there needs to be actually additional pipeline to the river to mitigate that, but also I'd ask to actually look at the permit that was issued by the draft permit issued by the Water Board, because it does talk about the mercury, it does talk about the harmful algal bloom, and it does talk about other contaminants and agricultural contaminants. I don't believe that it is consistent with the WISP regs to increase the habitat and flow and water quality, which are required of that. And I would just ask the staff to actually make sure that the changes, the shortcut, the Dunnigan pipeline was actually fits the WISP regs. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. King.
Next, we will take a comment from Liz Hurst with IEUA.
Good morning, Chair Steiner and Commissioners. Good morning, there we go. Good morning, Chair Steiner and Commissioners. I'm Liz Hurst with the Inland Empire Utilities Agency's Chino Basin Program. As Amy mentioned, our recirculated PEIR will be posted next week and will include the GWR Supplemental Environmental Impact Report on pulse flows as well. We also continue to make strong progress on the full-scale advanced water purification facility and recycled water pipeline projects. Construction of the demonstration facility, as I've mentioned before, is underway and on track to be completed by the end of this year. At the same time, we're receiving updated cost estimates and evaluating value engineering options to manage rising labor, material, and construction costs. We're also working closely with the state agencies to resolve several key issues, including unforeseen operational and maintenance costs associated with providing pulse flow ecosystem public benefits with the Department of Water Resources. In parallel, we're developing our draft public benefit contracts with the goal of bringing them to the Commission this summer. One of our main remaining challenges is that the current monetization framework undervalues the pulse flow water for the ecosystem. So we look forward to continuing to work with the Commission staff and economists to revisit the least cost alternative assumptions and assure the value of these benefits is more accurately reflected. We appreciate the continued partnership with the Commission staff and state agencies and look forward to providing a more detailed update at next month's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you for what we'll call a yay report also. We're happy to see the progress you're making, and we're looking forward to seeing you again next month to hear a more complete report. Thank you.
Next, we will hear a comment from John Belperio.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me the time to speak today. My name is John Belperio with the North Coast States Carpenters Union, and I'm speaking in regards to funding the sites project. You know, I'm going to beat the same drum. We fully, still wholeheartedly believe Barnard lacks the capacity and the qualifications to deliver this project. Best case scenario, you're going to have delays, cost overruns. Worst case scenario, you're going to have structural failure. You guys were told at the last meeting that the selection, because we've questioned the selection of Barnard Construction, how does the smallest firm of the three that were, chasing the project, how were they selected? And you guys were told that it was an independent committee and it was by unanimous vote. The independence of the committee was not factual. The committee, the selection committee, was handpicked by Jerry Brown. You had one staff member, 3 stakeholders, and 2 independent consultants. So we still, we still believe that there's a lack of transparency in this process. We were given a PLA and told we could sign it or not by the Building Trades. We're not signing it. There will not be labor harmony on this project. You guys, as being stewards of the tax dollars, and I know the funding is coming up in June, and we would just ask, that you guys really, take a look at some of these things and continue the conversations with the Sites Authority, as we're trying to, but have been unsuccessful so far. Thank you again for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Belperazio. Am I close? Belperio.
Thank you.
I didn't do it generically enough there. I'm sorry. I apologize. With a name like Fern, I'm always sensitive to people getting things wrong. So, our names.
And we do not have any other in-person comment, and at this time, I'm not seeing any raised hands on Zoom.
All right, then we'll now close the comment period and turn to Commissioner discussion. Any questions or comments from commissioners? This is the opportunity for commissioners to ask questions of our presenter. Commissioner Curtin?
So I do have a question. Yeah. So I know we were waiting in the letter that you sent, Commissioner Steiner, regarding the water rights from the State Water Resources Control Board. I've heard there's some concerns, but I haven't heard any reports whatsoever about what that report entailed, what it meant for sites' viability. You know, there's a lot of, well, unfortunately, there's a lot more controversy around this project than there may have been. But I understand, only sort of through the grapevine, that the State Water Resources Control Board report, or whatever it is, determination, was of somewhat concern to the sites and to their potential viability as a, you know, economic. So is there anything on that? Or maybe we can invite them to come and report to us what they were talking about.
Right, that we could invite them to talk about that. As far as I know, I don't know, I think they had to take the report from the water board and then put that into a lot of modeling to figure out how it actually affects really affects the project and affects the benefits that we would be looking at.
So I understood there was like less capabilities of taking water out of the river and in a different timely fashion. So there was substantive, but since we're going to be considering this in June, maybe we can get them here in May to explain it, and then we'll have a response in June, I suppose. That might be something we could consider.
I don't know if they will be available in May. I do know that they plan to come in and present in June on the project.
You're talking of sites or the water board?
June. Were you talking about the water board?
I'm asking the water board, actually, to give us a presentation on what their
I don't know if
determinations were. I don't know if that's appropriate or not.
I don't know. We can.
But it
I'm
would
not
be,
sure if it is.
I think it's important that we know what it is. So we're talking about giving them quite a bit of money for this project.
Yes, and where our decision needs to be made is on their ability to deliver public benefits. And
right.
those have to be verified by the administering agencies, CDFW and DWR. So when CDFW and DWR come in and present the CAP, the contracts for public benefits in June, they are presenting those with some level of confidence, and the commission can certainly, you know, ask questions about their level of confidence that the benefits will be delivered. So that's where our decision touches down on the water rate itself, is their ability to deliver the public benefits.
Okay. And I'd also like to comment on Mr. King's comments. There seems to be some pretty specific questions there that I don't know if we have the capabilities of doing that kind of research, but perhaps there's some way we can get somebody to look at those concerns before we make some hard decisions, and we don't end up in court finding out that his concerns were accurate and we ignored them.
Yeah, we can do that, yeah. This was around the time when the project was resized, and so there were some changes that were made at that time.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Gallagher?
Yeah, I have a question. So the comment period is open right now, correct? Is there any, as the purveyor providing the funds for the public benefit, right? Is there any reason why we would want to make a comment right now in order to bolster that, or on, you know, the state's behalf for the public benefit? Would we want to provide a comment during the open comment period to the, or are we not? Is that shady, you know, gray territory?
I would think that if we were going to put in any comment, we're not certainly qualified to put in a comment on most of that, at least in our position here, but to just say, you know, we're still working under the same timeline that we provided you before. I don't know that that's something worth doing or that anybody would pay attention to it, but I don't think comment beyond that is really within our purview or our capability to do. And I certainly, on short notice, would be a little concerned about doing it, although I actually thought about it also. So, did you have further comment?
I concur.
Commissioner Hurd, did you have a question? Oh, I thought I saw your hand. Okay, Commissioner Solario?
Yes, thank you. Two items, both on things I've talked about before as well regarding these two kind of related topics. Number one, I think any new things that we add to our work plan on these things, we've got to look at, are they going to add more time for projects to get approved, or are they going to create efficiencies? I'm looking for things that create efficiencies, not things that add more things to do. So that's number one. Secondly, I live in Los Angeles. Generally seen as an Orange County kid. I'm from Los Angeles, Orange County, and Kern County. So many of these projects greatly will benefit, that region of California, including sites. I'm also, very pro-labor policymaker. I've been not just on in the state legislature, but on several local governing agencies and authorities, and probably have supported more project labor agreements and local hiring agreements than most, and a big fan of those. And to the extent that I do care very much about Northern California, the number of labor folks on those jobs, I likewise care about that in the Central Valley and in Southern California. So if we're going to be looking at labor contracts and PLAs, I previously said I'd be interested in seeing how all our project agencies are doing on this subject, because they all merit to have good working people on those jobs, especially from the state, especially local hires. And so if we're going to look particularly in any one agency and how those conversations are going to be equally interested in doing that for all agencies, again, we're back to that, do these things at time or streamline time. I agree that if you have good labor folks on these jobs, over time they do result in more consistency in workflows and less work stoppages, et cetera. But if we're going to be looking at one particular agency and what they're doing on the subject, we owe it to the rest of our state labor organizations and workers that they too are protected. So I just want to be mindful that we don't overly criticize one project and not others, whether it be just overly criticizing one agency or one contractor, but also really for the benefit of labor workers throughout the state of California. So maybe we can get a report back on that, or maybe have, again, a panel of labor folks from throughout the agency or statewide labor leaders from the building trades and carpenters to get their reports on how these projects are moving throughout the state, because we don't want to clog up one project and all the other ones not say one word, and only to realize that the other projects are in worse shape or perhaps better shape, or perhaps they have better practices on doing this, or we're reviewing agency by agency, that agencies have similar PLA programs or are aware of the kind of questions and interests that we have, because we owe it to the entire state, not just one agency. But I'm very pro having as many labor folks from the carpenters or laborers or any other building trade organization on the SICE project and any others. Thank you.
Commissioner Solorio, thank you. So you brought this up earlier. We have had some conversations with all of the projects, and they are paying attention to the conversations and learning from the conversations regarding sites. Sites is orders of magnitude larger in many respects. And so for many of the projects, it's either a non-issue or it's too preliminary. But I will say that I think that that's something that the Chino Basin program folks can probably speak to when they come in, given that they're making good progress with their project.
I would just comment on that. They're not an issue until there's an issue that comes up. So there was not an issue that was an issue at SICE until something came up. So the fact that an agency rep will say this, no issue is very different than what your local labor organization may say now or in the future. So again, I don't mind having these conversations, but if we're going to have this conversation, let's have it about all the projects, and let's talk about equal stakeholders and all these, not just selectively.
Any other commission comments? Staff have any final thoughts? Then we'll now move on to agenda item number 9, the Water Storage Investment Program, Harvest Water Program, consideration of supplemental funding determination. Water Storage Investment Program Manager Amy Young will provide information related to the supplemental funding determination for the Harvest Water Program.
Okay, thank you. I'll wait for the slide to come up. Okay. All right, we can go to the next slide. In February, a little higher. In February, Sacramento Area Sewer District, or SAC Sewer, provided an annual update to the commission and also made a request for supplemental funding determination to account for additional inflationary increases for the Harvest Water Program. In this item, we will go through over some background of the Harvest Water Program and the funding status, inflation and the WISIP regulations, and staff recommendation and commission decision options. Next slide. The Harvest Water Program received a funding award from the commission in June 2023. The economists used the Consumer Price Index and the USDA cropland values to bring the public benefits up to the 2022 values, which happened to be the most current index at that time. It was determined that the public benefit value exceeded the MCED, or the maximum conditional eligible determination, and the full MCED was awarded. At that time, we could not award more than an MCED, and there was no other uncommitted funding. So later in 2025, after Prop 4 passed and provided additional funds to the water storage program and a project withdrew, the commission provided a pro rata increase to the projects in the program, including Harvest Water Program. And similarly, the increased amount did not fully bring the award amount up to the fully inflated public benefit values. Next slide. And as I mentioned earlier, the commission has provided pro rata increases to projects with MCEDs, and the amount that was available to provide to the projects was relatively small in comparison to the amount of inflation that has occurred over time. When verifying that there has been enough inflation to justify those pro rata increases, the economist used a construction and land cost index based on the Bureau of Reclamation's construction cost trends. That index is a water project-specific index and generally tracks with the inflation that the water storage investment program projects would see in their construction costs. The CPI has not increased as much as the reclamation index, and because the Bureau's index is more closely related to construction costs of water projects, the economists recommend using this index to inflate public benefits and for this project. So in the past, we were constrained by limited funds and needing to use pro rata increases to spread evenly between the projects. Now that yet another project has withdrawn from the program, the uncommitted funds exceed the amounts awarded or conditionally available to the projects. Next slide. So this led to the need to modify the water storage program's regulations to allow for what is called the supplemental funding determinations, which allows the commission to increase an award or a conditional amount when uncommitted funds are available. The supplemental funding determination can be used for inflationary increases as well as for new public benefits. It allows the commission to make a determination on a case-by-case basis instead of having to do a pro rata increase. And for projects that already have a final award, like Harvest Water, requires the decision to be made within 12 months of a request for a supplemental determination. Next slide. So that's some background and a little bit of information about the Harvest Water Program. The total funding award at this point is $364.8 million. $203 million has been spent, which is about 56% of the total award. There has been progress on the project's construction. All of the pipeline has been installed. The pumping station will be constructed next year. On-farm connection assemblies are expected to be completed in mid-2027, and groundwater monitoring wells in late 2026. Sac Sewer is continuing their outreach to move the water out to the recycled water recipients, and they are planning to have the full project facilities completed and operating by mid-2027. So this project is on track to finish on schedule. And as we know, the project has experienced increases in cost due to inflation, and Sac Sewer did make a request for a supplemental funding determination related to inflation. Next slide. So staff looked at the Harvest Water Program's inflation up to the time of the final funding award in 2023. And staff chose that date to ensure that inflation is not applied to costs that have already been incurred. The Reclamation Construction Cost Index was applied, and it resulted in an increase of about $52.1 million. This recommended amount builds on the inflationary increases already awarded at the time of the final award and in February 2025, and will bring the funding amount up to what it would have been in 2023 if this cost index was used, if there were uncommitted funds available, and if the Commission had the regulatory ability to award more than an MCED. Next slide. So you could see you could see the amounts on that table we just saw. Thanks. Next slide. Okay, I think we can go to the next one. Oh, okay. Well, we will linger on this table and take it in. Or, yeah. Okay. 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 Next slide. Okay, thank you. All right, so Commission's considerations. Currently, there is a total of $639.5 million available in uncommitted funds, and Sac Sewer is showing progress towards completing their project on schedule. Reserving uncommitted funds does not outweigh the need for supplemental funding because there is, as we can see, a substantial amount of uncommitted funds. This increase would be about 8% of that total amount. With the additional award, the additional award would not limit other projects' abilities to continue in the program. This decision will reconcile the indexes and make whole this project up to their time of award. This will all contribute to the advancement and achievement of program goals and purposes provided in the statute. So today the Commission can decide to award a full inflation amount of $52.1 million. The Commission can also award less than that amount. The Commission can deny the request or delay this decision to another time. And that's all I have. Oh, and also I just want to mention, we do have our economist here, Steve Hatchett. He's here and available to answer any questions that I cannot. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Young. Is there any comment on this item?
Yes, we do have 4 in-person comments on this item, and then we will take any Zoom comments after that. So first, we will hear from Mr. Joe Phil Borgia.
Good morning, Commissioners, Chair, staff. Apologize for normally used to the dais downstairs, but this is quite a intimate meeting room, so really appreciate it. Thank you again for your time and for your consideration of this item. We're very supportive of the Commission staff, of their recommendation that's being held with you today. As the Commission, as California, as the legislature, and as the administration continue to undertake generational commitments, promises like the water plan, to our environment sustainability and overall water structure in California, this is our opportunity, this is your Commission's opportunity to really put more than 10 years of work of your staff and of your Commission, of all our constituents, from Prop 1 to Prop 4, and our commitments to the voters and our communities that we care about putting these dollars into work. You've heard this before. We've had the opportunity to share with you our project. This is a project that continues to shape our regional communities, our farmers, our local habitats, and will continue to do so for a lifetime. 80+ years of Sac Sewer's commitments with your funding to maintain these ecological benefits of Sacramento County and potentially downstream and beyond. Your vote today aligns with the staff recommendation recognizing the impact of these inflation to construction, land values, and symbolizes California's intent to move these large-scale infrastructure projects to fruition. Every $1 million of water funding, as our industry have looked into, creates $2.5 million in economic output and at least 10+ jobs. Your decision today will have a ripple effect for your children, my children, and their children's, and beyond. 8% of the funding available, 92% still available, so we are not even close to taking a huge chunk of what's available and being considered. Let's make this a victory for the commission, for the legislature, for the administration, and for the voters that trusted their fate in this decision-making body and to the legislation from both Prop 1 and Prop 4, and for Sacramento and the region to make this project a reality for generations beyond. Thank you so much for your consideration, and we really appreciate your vote and the opportunity to speak today. Thank you.
Thank you, and of course, we're excited to see the project continuing to move forward, and I think we want all of our projects to reach fruition, and we're happy to have one working its way further along as you are. Mr. Walters?
Apologies. Next, we will go to Chris Flores.
Ms. Flores?
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Chris Flores. I'm Sacramento County's Agricultural Commissioner. I'm here today to highlight the continued importance of ag in Sacramento and the value of continued investment in long-term water sustainability through the Harvest Water Project. In 2024, the gross production value of agriculture in Sacramento County was over $536 million. This figure reflects the farm gate value of crops and livestock and serves as a strong indicator of agriculture's vital role in our local economy. Our top commodity, wine grapes, accounted for nearly $168 million, followed by market milk, pears, poultry, and aquaculture. Equally important is the diversity of our agricultural sector, from field crops like corn, alfalfa, wheat, and safflower, valued at over $63 million combined, to high-value specialty crops. Sacramento County agriculture remains both resilient and adaptive in the face of changing market conditions, environmental and regulatory challenges, and increased input costs. Given this economic significance, continued support of agriculture in Sacramento County is essential. Our farmers and ranchers not only contribute to the local economy, but also support regional and global food systems, preserve open space, and sustain rural communities. Ensuring they have the resources, infrastructure, and regulatory support needed to succeed is critical to maintaining this foundation. My department, the Department of Agriculture for the county, plays a role in that support through a range of programs. For example, department staff inspect thousands of shipments of plant material annually, intercepting pests and rejecting these shipments, preventing potentially significant economic and environmental harm. We also set out thousands of insect traps throughout the county, checking for non-native invasive fruit flies and other non-established pests injurious to agriculture. We support exports by issuing phytosanitary certificates, enabling the export of our agricultural commodities to over 60 countries around the world, and reinforcing Sacramento County's global agricultural reach. One resource that our department cannot assist with is sustainable water supply. Therefore, I am here this morning to emphasize the importance of Harvest Water Project and voice my support. This project represents a forward-thinking investment in water reliability for our local agricultural industry. As we all know, this project reduces reliance on groundwaters, supports aquifer recharge, and provides farmers with a more reliable water supply, especially during drought conditions. Continued funding and support for the Harvest Water Project is essential to ensuring the long-term viability of agriculture in our region. And in closing, I'd like to just mention that agriculture remains a cornerstone of Sacramento County's economy and identity. With continued investment and sustainable infrastructure like the Harvest Water Project, together we can ensure that this vital industry continues to thrive for generations to come. I respectfully ask that for your continued support, and I thank you for allowing me to speak today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Flores.
Yeah.
Next, we will hear from Ken Onedo.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Ken Onedo. I'm a local farmer who will be a beneficiary of the Harvest Water Project. And I've been working with them since they had the vision 10 or 15 years ago, and really looking forward to having a secondary supply of water. And it's not only good for us farmers, but it's good for the community as a whole, because us using secondary water, tertiary treated water instead of irrigating with groundwater reserves that precious groundwater, where it's more responsible for the public for drinking water and other uses. And another role that I play, I also sit on the local area GSA, the Groundwater Sustainability Agency, and the Harvest Water is our golden child for Sacramento Central Groundwater Authority for overpumping. So we're not only doing ag good here in this project, we're also doing the whole groundwater basin good, because like I said, this is our main project in our groundwater sustainability plan. As far as increased costs, I've got the project includes on-farm connections. So from when the Harvest Water hits my property, they're helping fund the connections to where I need the water. Just over the last 3 months, pipe has gone up 10 to 15%. Just oil prices and everything else. So we appreciate if you would look into this inflationary bump into this project. Like I said, it's going to be a good project for everybody. It's good for not only ag, it's the groundwater, but all the public will benefit from this. So thank you for your consideration in awarding this bump in funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Onedo.
And next, we will go to Pat Hume.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to address you this morning. That's loud. I am Pat Hume. I'm the Vice Chair of the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors. I'm the immediate past chair of the Sacramento Area Sewer District. I serve on 2 of the 3 state agencies tasked with preserving and enhancing the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta. And I have recently been appointed to the advisory committee for the Water Plan Update 2028 and the implementation of SB 72. More importantly for today's purposes, I was an early adopter and remain an ardent supporter of the Harvest Water Project. This is the type of project that California should be investing in. It is regional self-reliance. It is resource conservation. It has ecological, agricultural, hydrologic benefits. When you see the map of the groundwater supply and how much that table comes up with the implementation of this project, it is truly stunning. In addition to that, Sacramento County invested about $5 million of our precious general fund dollars to supplant and augment the paving of the roads where this pipeline has been installed. That's a once-in-a-lifetime infrastructure investment that I'm very proud to have been a part of. And so I encourage you to support this funding request. As it has been said, you have the money available. It still does not exceed the I believe it's MCED, is that the correct term? The public benefit of this project, this is the type of thing we should be investing in. And so I thank you for your time, I thank you for your consideration, and I look forward to your approval. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Hume.
And that is the end of our in-person comments. However, we do have a Zoom comment from Mr. Peter Van Dyke. So, Mr. Van Dyke, please unmute and begin your comment.
Thank you very much, honorable commission members. Yeah, I think the Harvest Water Project is where the whole country needs to go going forward into the future. We're too reliant on these 20th century engineering technologies of reservoirs and things. And the more that we could get away from that, I think the better off everyone's going to be. It's going to be good for agriculture, groundwater, the ecology of the riparian corridors. I think the biggest focus when it comes to projects should be on recycling and harvesting the water that we've already used and or that's available. We can't be damming up any more valleys and reservoirs. just doesn't seem sustainable. So I'd love to see the commission move in that direction as much as possible. Thank you very much for giving me the time to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Van Dyke.
And next we will go to Rob Burness. Mr. Burness, please unmute and begin your comment.
Good morning. I'm Rob Burness, and I represent the Friends of Stone Lakes National Wildlife Refuge. We are a nonprofit organization that works with the refuge staff to promote the refuge, to support habitat enhancement efforts, and to defend against development projects that would adversely impact the refuge and its species. Chair Steiner, commissioners, I first would like to thank Executive Officer Jensen for her team's efforts in making consistent progress for California's environmental and water sustainability under Proposition 1. I'm here today to express the Friends of Stone Lake's support for Sac Sewer's Harvest Water Program. This is an innovative, multi-species working lands recycled water program for South Sacramento. We are excited that with implementation of the program, 800 acres of riparian and wetland habitat will be enhanced and protected, and that we will have an additional 3,500 acres of sandhill crane habitat, a critical part of the draft Sandhill Crane Recovery Plan. All of these activities link Stone Lakes National Wildlife Refuge and the Cosumnes River Preserve, a longtime goal of our Friends group. We are pleased that the very first Harvest Water Program projects, a series of riparian and wetland enhancements, have been happening on the Gallagher unit at Stone Lakes National Wildlife Refuge. I want to thank the staff for putting forward the program, the proposed inflationary adjustment of the program, and the Friends of the Refuge fully support the Commission's approval of the recommended program. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burness.
And at this time, we do not have any other raised hands on Zoom.
Thank you. Then we'll now close the comment period and turn to commissioner discussion. Do any commissioners have any questions? Commissioner Mackler?
Great. As I've said before, and what has been echoed by all the comments is this is a remarkable project. It was put together by a tremendous team, and very excited, with its success. Though, with that, I want to ask some questions. So, one of the things that we deal with here is, with the Prop 1 money, with the Prop 4 money is that there is this question of taxpayers versus ratepayers. And that, the idea with Prop 1, I think, was that there were certain investments that were being made or that could have been made, and that, that were really for the benefit, broader benefit than the direct ratepayers. And I think that this is the sort of the promise and the idea that money would be made available from the state to secure those benefits, but also to provide a basis to incentivize these projects, to get them going. And I think in the, in the Harvest Water Project, this has been successful. I mean, this is really tremendous. And, when I look at it from a project standpoint, I'm looking at it and saying, look, this project is already underway. They have figured out their financing. They have, received, commitments from the state through Prop 1. So why at this point, when the project is sort of, past a final, what I would call a final investment decision, are they coming back and asking for more money? It would seem that they, have, secured what they needed to secure in order to build that. And, and part of the question is like, okay, well, there is money available in the program, but also at the end of the day, we don't have to spend all the money. Money could go back, or to the general fund or something like that. So I think that this aspect of, should we make a subsequent, funding allocation for a project that is already in flight and has otherwise put together their financing package, I think is, an important question to have in front of this commission. Now, that being said, I'm favorably inclined towards this, and I'll say, but I've got a couple of questions I want to go into factually. So I'm going to assume that with this project that is in flight, that they are fully compliant with, or I won't say fully, but they are compliant with the agreements that we have in place with them.
That is correct, yes.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
great. Because I wouldn't want to fund something where we were having an issue. And then second, you mentioned that we have the economist here, and I think that there's something that I'd like to understand a little bit better, which is moving from one, index to another. Not just because there's available funds, but that we didn't just sort of come up with a new index, but that this is a better index for construction projects. And I'd like to hear sort of what are the elements of that, this index that are more relevant for this purpose than the CPI. And if we could just get 2 minutes on that, I think that would be good for the record and also good for, the foundation for this decision.
Okay, and so just one quick thing to just keep in mind, when this when this program first put out MCEDs for all these projects, we were fully funding the Harvest Water Program at that time, but since then, so much inflation has increased, and the SAC sewer is having to take on those. But we, intended to fund this project fully originally.
I'm not disputing that, but I do think it's interesting that we're applying a different index. I think that that's what you said earlier in sort of the justification for, determining the amount of the grant, and I think that it is why is this index a better index than the one we had previously? That would be
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Steve Hatchett. So I've been a consultant to the Commission and staff for, since 2014, since the law was passed. Directly related to your question, I think, the staff report has laid out very well the reasons that we are making this recommendation at this time. The regulations written to implement the program were not prescriptive in terms of assumptions about how to inflate or escalate costs or benefits over time. So there's some room there, and both the previous index we used and the current index fall within that flexibility. The reason that, frankly, that we were using a different index 3 years ago and previous to that was that, several reasons. Funds were constrained, so a fair application of one index across all projects is what we are recommending. And in that regard, changing to this new index, we would also recommend for your consideration that all of the other projects get applied this same approach. So why did we change? The original index that we were using for this particular project's adjustment in 2023 was a combination of land value from the USDA and the consumer price index. Why the consumer price index might be the better question for a water project construction related. And I would say in retrospect, had we not been constrained by funding, we may have thought more seriously about that. We are doing that now. So we've thought carefully, all right, these are water projects. We need to look at an index that best represents the kinds of construction and land purchasing and easement costs that water projects would face. And that's why we've chosen to go with this reclamation combined index. And as I said, we will be recommending that for your consideration for future adjustments and final awards for other projects too.
And just to be clear, I mean, the CPI is a broad base. It includes, consumer goods.
Exactly.
Whereas the index, the reclamation index, has a heavier weighting, probably excludes some items that are in the CPI, and has a heavier weighting for, capital costs, materials, probably labor as well, construction labor. And it does include land.
So the reclamation construction cost trends have a whole list of indices that they construct in-house based on things like producer price indexes and engineering news record construction cost indexes and so forth, that they pull all of that together. In addition to these specific construction cost related, they also have a land index that is specific to each state. So we're recommending and have used in this is combined index, the California Land Index, which, as you know, has gone up faster than most other states, and the composite, what's called the Composite Construction Cost Index for water projects.
Right,
Yes.
right. So one way to look at this, and perhaps this is a question for Ms. Young, is this is a true-up to the original grant, and it is justified based on the application of an index that is more appropriately suited to this type of economic activity.
Yes.
That
Well,
is.
I'm Miss Young.
Are you? I thought you were.
I'm
We had issue with
I'm
names.
channeling Miss Young.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
That's correct. Yes.
And a very good point and a good explanation. We did set, we all did read that portion of the report very considerably. Commissioner Bland?
Commissioner Mackler stole my question, so I'll be quiet.
Okay, so we channeled there also. Commissioner Solario?
Thank you. I have mixed feelings about this item and probably will vote no, and not because I don't think it would merit the money, but because I think more time by the commission staff and other projects on whether this is the best use of money. I think I'd prefer to see a discussion on this later in the year. I think it's very unusual to give more money to an entity after it's received a full funding agreement. And we've looked at the numbers, and there's really always assumption that the future inflation will increase. I also am not aware of how this money would be spent, how much of it's going to go to consultants, staff, labor. Are there labor jobs on this project? I don't know if it has a PLA or project, local hiring agreement or any of that. So I'd be very interested in how this is going to be used. I know one spokesperson mentioned it's going to be mentioned for streets, to fix up streets after the project. Well, that's a noble thing, and I believe in having nice streets. I wonder about that. We also have all the other projects that received early funding agreements that they received inflationary costs for whatever they spent for those dollars. If another project drops out of this system, another WISA project drops out, is this project again going to be eligible to say, hey, there's more money available, I want another slice of the pie? And again, for all these other prior projects, I don't know the fairness in that, or is there a higher and better use to fund other projects that may be in a weaker position for building out their project, that they may receive a better impact and improvement by receiving these dollars? So those are all big questions, and 50+ million isn't a smaller project. So again, I'd be very interested in knowing how that money would be spent, and I don't think it would be fair to ask the staff or the project to say today by line item what that would cost. Also, I know that local policy agencies, when they build a project and they get things like full funding agreement, they know that the onus in the future for other costs that often are at their choice, whether they go to Plan B or Plan B on things that they vote for, how to build future projects, that it's up to them. Their funding arrangement might have been that local taxpayers instead of statewide taxpayers would pay for these things. So for all those reasons, I don't think we have enough information today, at least I don't know that this is the best use of these dollars, or that we would then for every other project, that the more projects fall out, if we're going to continue to do this in a blanket fashion, because I know we, out of fairness, do try to treat every project similarly. But again, I could see very easily that another project or two may fall out, and would this project again be eligible for receiving those dollars, and would other projects likewise be received, would be eligible to receive additional projects, especially for inflationary costs above and beyond early funding agreements? And again, I'd be very interested in knowing how this money is being used, whether for consultants, staffing, or labor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The commission did intentionally modify the WISIP regulations in 2025 to allow for supplemental funding determinations. And we also had Prop 4, which gave us that leeway also. And we are looking for projects to move forward, and for a project that's done its due diligence and moved forward quicker than others, we wanted to find a way to also allow them to continue to be, to receive funds if appropriate, to move forward. I think that's the end of the commissioner comments.
No, I have a question.
Well, you need to raise your hand or tell me.
I put my light on,
Okay.
sorry.
You put your light on? That doesn't help me.
My light's on, that's rare. Yeah, so it seems to me that we've been talking about projects for, 10 years now? And I'm afraid that the longer we take, the more difficult it is for these projects to come together. We have one that actually is about to come together, and according to your report, will be actually in place and operating mid-2027. So it's hard to imagine it's taking that long to get there. I want to do everything we can to encourage that project and the others that are still viable to get done. And since we have more money, because I believe 3 of our major projects have dropped out for a variety of complex reasons, and rather than just kind of look at each, the more money as something we can use in the future, I think we need to do it now, as soon as possible. If there's more money available and their prices continue to go up, our role is for public goods, or not public goods, but benefits, thank you, as long as that is being met. And of course, you've all heard me repeatedly talk about we have to look at there was a comment about the 20th century infrastructure. I'm not opposed to surface storage by any means, but it's clearer and clearer to me that 21st century infrastructure will really be focused on groundwater. Since we're losing our snowpack, we need more infrastructure getting water into the ground. This is a model project. I'm more than enthusiastic about supporting this amount, and if there's more money available in the future and they continue to run into financial problems, which they will because of the situation we've had. Nobody mentioned tariffs on the steel. I thought I might just for fun. There's no question costs are going to go up. We have money available. Let's get this project done. I am desperately looking forward to saying in 2027, if I'm still on the commission, I've only been on 10 years, I believe, we got a project. Holy mackerel, we got a project. Let's do it. So I would like to support it and move the question. Thanks.
Commissioner Hurt?
Thanks. I want to echo your thoughts. I think the best and highest use of this money is to make sure we have a project that crosses the finish line. And this is one that is progressing, has done so well. There are public benefits attached. And the money sitting in the bank is important, and we still have that, but also projects being concluded and completed is really what we want to see. And so I think in light of it coming across the final award sooner than many other projects, they shouldn't be penalized. And then we have these funds to make these projects happen, so we should move forward in that way. And so I'd like to move approval.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Hurt. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Matsumoto. I heard it this way to the left. Sorry. All right, we all move it. We're all moving it except for maybe.
Let's discuss it for a few more months.
I'm sorry, we are not all moving it. We will go ahead and we have our motion by Commissioner Hurt and second by Commissioner Matsumoto, and Mr. Walters will call the roll.
Commissioner Bland?
Yes.
Commissioner Curtin?
Yes.
Commissioner Gallagher?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurt?
Aye.
Commissioner Mackler?
Yes.
Commissioner Matsumoto?
Yes.
Commissioner Solorio?
No.
Commissioner Steiner?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, the commission is going to take a 10-minute break. Let me look at, so my watch has 10 to 12, 10 to 11, oh, good. 10 to 11, and we will reconvene at 11 a.m.
ocean calling, wild and free.
Welcome back, everyone. Who's here? And we're now going to move on to Agenda Item 10, consideration of Department of Water Resources Dam Safety Regulations. Sean Jones, Division Manager for the Division of Safe, Assistant, they have it, oh, let me make a note here. I don't want to get that wrong again. Assistant Manager for the Division of Safety of Dams at the Department of Water Resources. We promoted you. Will provide an overview of the proposed additions and modification to dam safety regulations, the rulemaking schedule, and a summary of the public comments. Mr. Jones?
All right, thank you, Commissioners. So today I will be going over a regulation package that we're currently promulgating. Okay, you're already on the next slide. So I will be going over modifications to existing regulations, dam safety regulations, some new regulations, and comments that we've received on the regulation text. I'll be going over what we've modified since I last presented before you, and the next steps. So next slide. So these are the 8 articles that we currently have in regulation. The stars show the ones that we are currently modifying. And as you can see, we've been kind of busy since 2017. This is going to be our 4th regulation package. So next slide. All right, so Article 2. Senate Bill 122 modified the water code. And what it chiefly did was it made it very clear that repair applications, alteration applications, and removal applications are to be treated just like new construction and enlargements. So what we're doing is now aligning this article with changes to the water code. And we're also making it really clear, it's currently a current practice, but we're making it clear how unlawfully constructed dams can be remedied. So next slide. Okay. Article 5, the changes here only apply to dams owned by the Department of Water Resources. There's 19 of them. And what we do is we have these boards to make sure that we're treating the dam owners the exact same as the, actually State Water Project, the same as any other dam owner. So what we're doing is we're making sure that the State Water Project covers our costs. We don't want the other dam owners to incur those costs through annual fees. And we're also removing an option for the State Water Project to use, sorry, I'm kind of shaky today. I haven't eaten anything. Yeah. That's all right. The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission has boards also, and we're getting rid of that because they no longer align with what's in the water code. So next slide. So Article 6, we're going to try and save a couple trees. For inundation maps, we require dam owners to submit a hard copy of a technical report. We're just getting rid of that hard copy. So pretty simple there. So next slide. All right, so Article 7, enforcement. So what we're doing is we're adding a paper hearing process. So instead of having a live hearing with everybody in person, hopefully, if it's a real simple case, what we can do is have it save travel costs, essentially. And we're cleaning up the lien property, the lien process, because right now, if we're going to have a lien on a property, it has to have a hearing. No point in having a hearing if a dam owner doesn't want one, so we're getting rid of that. We're just simplifying it. So Article 8, Senate Bill 122 said we had to apply CPI annually to our application fees. So we're currently doing that for the last 2 years. What we're doing now is just putting it in the regulations, making it clear for everybody. Senate Bill 122 also said that we had to create regulations to periodically update our application fee schedule. And the purpose of this is if CPI is not keeping up with our actual costs, we can go through this process and periodically update our application fees. So next slide. So Article 9, application fee refunds. So we had a procedure for providing application fee refunds in certain cases. Senate Bill 122 said the department may provide refunds, but only through regulation. So since that went into effect, we haven't provided any cases for application fee refunds. So while it's going to be not as, while this regulation is going to be more limiting than what we had in our procedure, we are going to put something into regulation that allows it in certain cases. So next slide. So Article 10, phased approvals. So large projects in the past, we have approved phases of a project that are 100% complete prior to other parts of the project being at 100% design. So this would allow a project to move forward faster instead of delaying projects. So what we're doing is we're actually putting this whole process into regulation. So it's very clear when and what projects can take advantage of this phased approvals. And I should note that CEQA and water rights have to be addressed before we do any kind of phased approval. So next. So public comments. We did a 56-day public comment period. We held a public hearing. We made some modifications to the regulation text. Went out for another 21-day public comment period. As you can see, had very little interest. The public hearing, one attendee asked one question, and I would say that was the only attendee that showed up. So really had little interest at all. So next slide, please. As you can imagine, where we received comments and questions was about money, about our fees, the adjustments, and for refunds. So next slide. So key comments that we did incorporate into the regulations, we made the modification to the text. We provided further clarity regarding how we would periodically adjust the application fee schedule. We also provided additional clarity with regards to how and when a dam owner could ask for a refund for application fees. So next slide. So what we didn't, comments and questions that we received that we didn't take any action on. Provide additional clarity regarding the process of adjusting our application fee schedule. And we also didn't incorporate additional instances when we would allow application fee refunds. The main reason for this is we didn't want to paint ourselves into a corner. And part of it is also how the department currently tracks time and costs and how the department may change that in the future. So we wanted to keep it pretty open and simple. So it's a little open, but that's the way we kind of had to do it in order to get through OAL. So next slide. So the modifications that we did make since I last presented before you was we made it clear that in order to abate a dam's unlawfully constructed status, they don't have to demonstrate water rights. So these are existing structures, and we want to make them safe. And oftentimes, our approval of the dam helps them get water rights. So we also provide clarification regarding the time period the department would, the time period over which we would use to evaluate our application fees in doing the periodic updates. And we also clarified the timeline when a dam owner could ask for application fee refunds. So next slide. So today we're here to ask for the Commission's approval to move forward with our regulation package. We are hoping to go forward in June to OAL. And if everything goes well, we'll hopefully get these approved in November. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. there any comment on this item?
We do not have any in-person comment on this item, and at this time, I'm not seeing any raised hands on Zoom.
All right, then we will close the comment period and turn to commissioner discussion. Sorry, my computer is not letting me see the screen I want to see on our agenda. Hold on. And we do have all the regs as part of our agenda, redlined, as you can see if you go online. Is there any commissioner comment on this item? Commissioner Curtin?
Just a quick one. This is being reviewed by OAL, who would be a lot more interested in all of the things you just said than me personally. Anything that has to do with water and development of water, it would be more interesting to me, to whatever your changes are that would affect that, as opposed to how you get your refunds and when can you make your applications. I couldn't tell you if any of those were good or bad. I don't have to, and I did have one question. How many illegal dams are there out there? And wouldn't they be like small, earthen type things that somebody did a while back? Are they still happening?
They're mostly ones that were done years and years ago.
Exactly.
Smaller dams.
Right.
We do run across some that are recent. A few years back, we found one that was illegally constructed. That was in the process of failing, and we got a call from the sheriff's department up in Modoc County.
Interesting.
So it does happen.
But the removal of those dams requires some serious consideration, I'm assuming.
So we give the dam owners three options. They can either do any dam safety fixes necessary to bring it into jurisdiction. They can alter the dam to less than jurisdictional size, or they can just remove the dam completely.
But doesn't removing a dam also have like environmental implications or even water implications?
So any of those three options requires an application, and they do have to follow CEQA.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm assuming a lot of that happened when they were moving out here and doing all kinds of interesting things to the valley. Yeah.
Any other commissioner comments? Then I would accept a motion to approve DWR's modifications to the dam safety regulations. Do I have such a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Bland? Okay. Second by Commissioner Curtin. Mr. Walters?
Commissioner Bland?
Yes.
Commissioner Curtin? Yes. Commissioner Gallagher?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurt?
Aye.
Commissioner Mackler?
Yes.
Commissioner Matsumoto?
Yes.
Commissioner Solorio? Oh, Commissioner Steiner?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. We'll now return to Agenda Item 11, Outreach and Engagement Update. Goal 2 of the Commission's 2025 Strategic Plan aims to develop, implement, and evaluate a targeted approach to increasing engagement in the Commission's work. We are welcoming back Public Information Officer Paul Cambra, who will provide an update on engagement numbers, near-term actions, and planning in support of Goal 2.
Thank you.
Mr. Cambra.
I think the last time I was here was in October of last year, so I will just update you on anything that's changed since then. So you can go ahead and put the next slide on. Just a reminder, Goal 2 of our strategic plan was to support smart water management through outreach, engagement, and a commitment to equity. And the objectives include using this forum to provide interested parties the opportunity to engage with the Commission and to increase awareness of the Commission's work. And so for a metric, year after year, we're going to measure engagement in meetings against the 2020 to 24 baseline. So you can move to the next slide. So meeting attendance. So here, participation at the meetings is divided into 3 categories: in-person, remote, and webcast viewers. And so you'll see the graphs on your screen. Those are the total amount of people for each year, 2023 to 2024, 17 meetings on those 2 years. And the blue bar on the right is the average attendance. We averaged 74 people in the meetings over those 2 years. 2025, we had 11 meetings. We averaged 75 people, about the same. And so far in the first 2 meetings of this year, we doubled that at 149 people. So you may move to the next slide, please. So as far as comment goes, these again are written, they're in person, they're on Zoom, they're phoned in. The average over 2020 to 2024, there was 46 meetings. We averaged 14 comments per meeting. Last year, we averaged 13.5, and so far this year, we're averaging 16.5 over the first 2 meetings. So we're a little bit, we're moving up in numbers there. You move to the next slide. Social media followers. Now, we tracked this back to July of 2023 when we had 1,452 followers on X. We're going to pick it up now in March of 2025 when we added Instagram and Blue Sky, and the numbers started gradually rising. And in the beginning of March of this year, we added Facebook and LinkedIn. Those don't have a lot of subscribers yet, but as a whole, we've increased 32% in the last year. We have 2,080 followers total. So that shows you where most of the people are going for their information. And so we'll keep promoting stuff on social media and maybe expand any way that we can on those platforms. And for the next slide, the website traffic. This we can track back to June 2024. Average monthly views, monthly users. The users are how many individual people are checking the site. So 2024 and 2020 went up a little bit in 2025 as far as views. And then the first quarter, a little bit higher on both categories. January, February were really good, and March was down. But then again, we didn't have a meeting in March. And so most of the website traffic is for the meeting page, and most of the downloaded files are the meeting agendas and such. So those will average out. Curious to see what we have after this meeting. We'll let you know at the next time I'm up here. So for the next slide, news releases. We reach about 4,200 people on our listserv, Club Delivery. It's actually got a new name now, which escapes me, but it's our listserv account. In addition to that, I sent it out to 400 plus media outlets, 450 plus water districts and agencies, 140 plus NGOs, 66 people in the ag industry. The listserv numbers, they're decreasing a little bit every month, and we're not quite sure why, but I'll get into that later on, a couple slides from now. So you can go on to slide number 8, and this shows the recent activities that we've done that align with our objectives. So as far as increasing public understanding of our work, every form of outreach we do aims to increase public understanding and to increase public participation at our meetings through either attendance or through commenting. So next Wednesday, Commission staff will have a table at CNRA's Earth Day celebration, and our goal that day is to educate people on the environmental benefits that the Water Storage Investment Program provides. We thought that was a good tie-in to Earth Day. We'll also have an informational flyer about the Commission that we can hand out. We also look forward to participating in Native American Day again this year. And our AEO, Sarah Listmaster, will be attending the May Aqua Conference, joining DWR at their California Water Plan booth, and she'll be able to educate the public on the Commission's connection to the water plan. Other things we do, I want to thank those of you that participated in our 5 questions with the Commissioner. They're all online, and any of you that haven't, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll send you the questions. We'd love to get you all up there. We continue to send emails in advance of each meeting to any person, organization, tribal affiliation who may have an interest in any of the agendized items. This month, we produced a short video for our social media platform that details how to make a public comment. It tells people where to go, what items to comment on, how you can do it, the many various ways we have. It's almost ready for publication. Look for it in the next week or so. And like most outreach efforts, we make everything very clear that you don't need to be present to comment. You can go to slide number 9 now. So social media subscribers are on the rise. Listserv subscribers are not. We did a month-long Join Our Listserv social media campaign that didn't get the response we had hoped for. But Commissioner Masamoto spoke at the speaker series a week ago, and you mentioned the commission, and we had 5 new subscribers the next day. So feel free anytime you guys are out there to promote the commission and say, join our listserv and get all the information you can. As far as the plain language, we always try to use plain language in everything we release, and we produce a plain language summary of the agenda that's been getting a few more downloads each month. And if you could go to slide number 10. Aligning messaging with DWR and other state agencies. A good example of this was the governor's office took the lead on a water plan update news release, and it included quotes from DWR's director, deputy director, and our own chair, and then we in turn amplified that release on our listserv and our social media channels. Last month, both Chair Steiner and Commissioner Curtin spoke at Senator Caballero's press conference on SB 72, the California Water Plan. Our executive officer and assistant executive officer were there as well. There are some pictures of the event on our website. Just go to photo gallery. And when it comes to taking the show on the road, November's meeting at Pyramid Lake was a huge success, and the tours we had afterwards. We're currently considering other locations where we could possibly hold one, if not this year, the next. And at last year's update, I said that we'd be bringing on a consultant to help with our outreach and engagement efforts. I'm happy to say that we finally narrowed it down and chose one, soon to be announced, and we'll start meeting with them regularly, and hopefully they will be here with a draft outreach and engagement plan later on this year. The goal is to help us target and engage more diverse and representative demographic groups, and to help us expand on our short-term goals with an eye toward the long term. So if you go to the last slide, this is just an example of some of the things we've done over the last year. The Harvest Water Tour, Lookout Slough, the press conference, Castaic Lake and Pyramid Lake. We took a tour of the pumping plant, and then there's last year's Native American Day, which, like I said, we will be there again this year. So if there's any questions, now's the time.
Thank you, Mr. Canberra. Is there any comment on this item?
We do not have any in-person comment on this item, and at this time, I am not seeing any raised hands on Zoom.
Then, thank you. We'll now close the comment period and turn to commissioner discussion. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? Commissioner Hurd?
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation, and I'm looking forward to the plan that comes from the consultant and engaging other stakeholders. And I'm specifically thinking about tribal nations and their unique voice in the topic of water. You provided a metric around volume, and I'm wondering, is there a way to understand maybe the quality of the relationships that we have with the people that are interacting and like the outcomes that occur? Not just tribal, just all our stakeholders.
A lot of it is we rely on the public comments for that. A lot of people will send letters in advance of meetings of what they're interested in. And we really hope that those that are interested show up and take part and participate. And we do our best to get the word out to them, and we target them. But as far as finding out how many of them individually show up as far as the groups, that's something that we're going to work with the consultant with to try to really narrow down who's coming and who they belong to and what they're interested in.
Okay. Yeah, I look forward to that because I think it's great that the numbers are increasing. I'd like to understand who these folks are and what are their concerns, and are there different ways that we can positively affect water and their concerns in this space.
I have a response to that too. So one of the things that
We need to get a microphone.
So one of the things also that we've done prior to the development of the 2025 strategic plan was a survey on our outreach and engagement. So we are planning and expecting to do a survey maybe sometime next year as kind of an interim milestone that better informs, the type of engagement, how well people are understanding what we're doing, what the commission is, how they can be involved. So we're hoping for sometime next year, but once again, getting some input from our consultant on that that, so we get a metric for the kind of the quality of the engagement and understanding.
Commissioner Solario?
Thank you. I know we've been doing these kinds of reports for some time, and we hear about the type of participation we get. I think we've become very efficient at doing the things that we've been doing the last few years. I know I've now been on this commission 5 years or so. I think sometimes kind of gotta think a little bit differently and outside the box. I know in thinking about some of my earlier comments, I remember our executive officer, how early on for other things, we would bring different panels to speak on different items. And kind of what I'm thinking is that maybe really to have more lively and higher quality input, because the reality is right now the kind of input that we get when we do get higher participations is we'll get 10 people to speak on the same item and really kind of related, really me too's on whatever subjects might be controversial of interest of that meeting, and not really kind of more in-depth ideas about how we can improve infrastructure, whether it be for conveyance projects or trading or fast tracking WISUP or identifying pluses and minuses on these WISUP projects, that maybe we could ourselves create forums for these discussions, have panels on best labor practices in doing water, conveyance project ideas for improving WISUP, and having panelists come and speak. And I'll tell you from having worked at various retail and other type of water agencies in Southern California, leaders of these organizations, executive officers, board members, they're hungry to be able to participate in these kind of things and offer value. You literally have thousands of water board members, hundreds of executive officers out there doing the work and looking for visibility, looking to add value to water plants, and often because they don't get directly involved, they don't participate, or they participate in a very remote way. So, I would encourage that we continue to do the kind of panels that we used to bring quality participants up here to hear about their ideas and interests. Also, not that these days I've been monitoring that many other state commission meetings, but this reporting out of how many people are calling in and attend meetings, that seems very unusual to me. I know apparently it's a regulation or a law, but I don't know, maybe staff can email us or me what that requirement or law is, because those numbers sometimes don't really, I don't think that they really portray us in a really strong way with what sometimes is a very low number of input items. Not that that's a bad thing, because usually less people coming to your meetings means that things are going well. But I think if we really are looking for true engagement, which means true and better ideas and higher quality participations of those people offering comment, well, to look at doing things differently. Thank you.
Any other commissioner comments? Any staff final thoughts? All right, then we'll now move on to agenda item 12, consideration of items for the next California Water Commission meeting. At the May meeting, the commission will host the second state water project briefing for the year, hear about recent Sustainable Groundwater Management Act activities and new information on relevant legislation, and receive our quarterly update on the WISUP and a detailed update on the Chino Basin program. Is there any comment on this item?
We do not have any in-person comment on this item, and I am not seeing any raised hands on Zoom.
Thank you. I'll now close the comment period and turn to commissioner discussion. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? Does commission staff have any final thoughts? Then I'll accept a motion on item 13, adjourn.
So moved.
By Commissioner Gallagher, second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hurt. All those in favor? Aye. I'm not going to ask for any opposed, but I will, because I'm supposed to. Any opposed? All right. Thank you. We look forward to you coming back and seeing us again next month.